My Christian girlfriend left me to live her life, and she contracted an STD, so she came to me for help. My name is Javier, and I'm a medical student. I always knew my career would demand a lot of my time, but I never imagined it would affect my personal life so deeply that I met Mariana at a university conference 2 years ago. She was studying psychology, and from the moment I saw her, I knew there was something special about her. She was sweet, reserved, and had a strong Christian faith. She told me her parents were very strict, and until she started university, her life had been heavily controlled by them. Despite her conservative upbringing, Mariana had an immense curiosity about the world she was slowly discovering. Maybe that's why she was drawn to me. I represented something new, a different experience from the life she'd known at home. From the moment we met, everything felt natural between us. We saw each other whenever we could, studied together, and shared our dreams and aspirations. For me, Mariana was a breath of fresh air amidst the academic pressure of medical school. With her, I could relax and forget about the stress for a while. For her, I was a kind of guide in this new world she was exploring, someone she could trust and feel safe with. During the early months of our relationship, Mariana stayed true to her beliefs and boundaries. She was clear about respecting her values and not taking steps she wasn't ready for. I understood and never pressured her. However, over time, her mindset began to shift. As she distanced herself from her parents' influence, Mariana started making her own decisions and questioning many of the beliefs she'd grown up with. When she finally moved out and got her own apartment, something in her changed. She became more adventurous, more open to new experiences. She started going out more with her friends, trying things she wouldn't have considered before, and gradually her worldview drifted from the one she had when we first met. What surprised me most was the change in our relationship. Where she had once been reserved with clear boundaries, she now seemed eager to make up for lost time. Our intimacy became much more frequent. We spent entire nights together, and while I enjoyed every moment with her, I also felt things were moving too fast. Mariana seemed to want to experience everything at once, as if she were afraid of missing out. Sometimes I wondered if she was making these choices because she truly wanted them or if she was just trying to compensate for everything she hadn't experienced before. The problem was that, despite how much I cared for her, my career didn't allow me to be with her as much as she wanted. Hospital shifts, exams, and hours of studying consumed most of my time. There were many times when Mariana asked to see me, but I had to say no because I was at the hospital or studying for an important exam. At first, she understood, but I soon noticed her frustration growing. Whenever I canceled plans, her voice grew colder, and though she said she was fine, I knew she wasn't. One day, she said something that stuck with me: "I feel like I'm always your second choice." I tried to explain that it wasn't true, that my career simply demanded a lot and I was doing my best to balance everything, but she just sighed and said, "I wish you could see it from my perspective." I understood her, I really did, but I couldn't completely set aside my future. Mariana, on the other hand, seemed determined to live every second to the fullest, and I couldn't keep up with her pace. I worried that this imbalance would hurt us, but I didn't know how to fix it without sacrificing my career. As the months passed, our conflicts intensified. She insisted more and more that we spend time together, complaining that I never had space for her and that I made her feel alone. I tried to explain that a medical career required immense sacrifice, but to her, it just sounded like an excuse. "If you really loved me, you'd make time for me," she'd say over and over. At first, I tried to make up for it by taking her to dinner when I could or dedicating my rare free moments to her, but it was never enough. No matter what I did, she always wanted more. Eventually, the stress from university, hospital rotations, and her constant demands began to take a toll on my health. I barely slept, ate just enough to get by, and my performance started to slip. Desperate to save our relationship, I made a choice I never would have considered before. I skipped a couple of hospital shifts. I knew it could have consequences, so I faked being sick. I even asked a doctor friend to help me write a fake prescription to justify my absence. He did it, but before handing it over, he looked at me seriously and said something that stuck with me. Don't sacrifice tomorrow's success for today's pleasure. There'll be time for girlfriends. If she loves you, she'll understand. His words hit me harder than I expected. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. He was right. My dream of becoming a doctor was at stake, and I was neglecting it for someone who didn't seem to understand. So, I spoke to Mariana with complete honesty. I need you to understand that my career is important to me. I can't keep going like this. I love you, but you have to support me in this. If not, I don't know how we can continue. She sighed and looked at me with what seemed like understanding. I get it, I really do. I don't want to be a burden to you. For the first time in a long time, I felt relief. I thought we'd finally reached an agreement. But a few days later, a classmate told me something that left me in shock. Hey, I saw your girlfriend at a party the other day. She was with some guy and they looked pretty close. My heart stopped for a moment. Are you sure it was her? I asked. Yeah. I didn't want to say anything, but since you're my friend, I thought you should know. I didn't know what to say. Everything I'd tried to avoid, everything I'd fought for, seemed to crumble in an instant. I stayed silent, my mind racing, wondering if I'd been wrong to trust that she'd understand my situation. That night I couldn't sleep. The image of her at that party, smiling with another guy, drinking, having fun, haunted me relentlessly. During the day, I tried to focus on my studies and rotations, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with him. Finally, I decided I couldn't live with the uncertainty. I had to talk to her, to hear the truth from her own mouth. I asked her to meet me at a quiet cafe, far from the university and any place that held memories for us. When she arrived, she seemed calm, almost carefree. I barely recognized the girl I'd spent so many nights studying with, the one I talked to about our dreams and our future. Her eyes, once full of warmth and promises, now reflected something I couldn't quite place. Why did you do it? I asked bluntly. She sighed as if she'd been expecting the question for a while. Because I want to live, to do things I never got to do. My parents controlled my entire life, told me what to do, what not to do, and when I moved out, I thought I'd finally be free. But with you, I felt the same way, always busy, always putting your career before me. I don't want that. I don't want a relationship where I feel like the last priority. And that's why you went to a party with someone else? I replied, feeling anger start to burn inside me. It wasn't just that, she said, looking down. I was with him. For a moment, I thought I hadn't heard her right. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. What? I whispered. It happened, she continued, avoiding my eyes. I didn't plan it, it just happened. I let myself get carried away. I realized I want to live experiences, I don't want to feel like I'm missing out. And with you, even though I love you, everything feels so serious, so structured. I don't want that right now. I sat in silence, trying to process her words. So everything we'd shared, everything we'd been through meant nothing to her? Was it just something holding her back from living her real life? So this is the end? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I think so, she said. I nodded slowly. There was nothing left to say. I stood up, left money on the table for our drinks, and walked out of the cafe without looking back. The feeling in my chest wasn't just pain, it was a mix of disappointment, anger, and an emptiness I didn't know how to fill. My friend's words echoed in my head, don't sacrifice tomorrow's success for today's pleasure. And there she was, choosing the exact opposite. But I couldn't stop her or force her to stay in something she didn't want. All I could do now was move forward. Update: I came back to Reddit after several months because I felt the need to share what happened recently. What I went through is, ironically, a lesson in itself about the choices we make and the consequences they bring. After we broke up, I heard from mutual acquaintances that my ex-girlfriend had fully embraced the life she so desperately wanted. I saw her on social media, surrounded by new friends, partying every weekend, traveling, and trying experiences she once thought were unthinkable. I won't lie, it hurt at first. Not because I wanted her back, but because it became clear that our relationship meant far less to her than I had thought. I decided to focus on my career. I continued my studies, my hospital shifts, and my life. I didn't regret prioritizing my profession, but I did feel a pang of sadness that someone I cared for so deeply had ended up this way. I learned to let her go and move on. I thought I'd never hear from her again. I was wrong. A few days ago, out of the blue, she contacted me. At first, I ignored her messages, but she was so persistent that I eventually responded. She said she needed to see me, that it was important, and that I was the only person she trusted. I didn't want to get involved, but curiosity, and maybe a bit of pity, made me agree. We met at a discreet cafe where no one would recognize us. When I saw her, I barely recognized her. She wasn't the confident person she portrayed on social media. Her face showed anguish and her voice trembled. She didn't take long to break down in tears and tell me her story. She confessed that after our breakup, she dove headfirst into the life she thought she'd missed out on. Parties, casual relationships, alcohol. She said that in her rush to feel free and experience everything, she neglected her health. "I feel broken," were her exact words. She didn't say it right away, but after a while, she admitted she had contracted something. She'd been to several doctors but didn't trust any of them. She said that, even though she knew she no longer meant anything to me, she still saw me as the only person she could trust. She asked me to examine her. I agreed, not because I wanted to reconnect with her, but because I felt the least I could do was help her medically. After some tests and analyses, the results were clear. She had both herpes and HPV. I told her as professionally as I could, but her reaction was heartbreaking. She sat in silence, staring at nothing, as if her entire reality had collapsed in that moment. "This is forever, isn't it?" she asked, her voice breaking. And the truth is, yes. There's no cure for herpes, and HPV can have serious long-term consequences. After several minutes of her crying quietly, she told me she was turning back to God, that she felt this was a life lesson and that she now understood what she had lost. But it was too late. All I could do was offer medical guidance and wish her the best. When I left that cafe, I didn't feel anger or resentment. I just felt pity. Deep down, she was just a repressed girl who thought living her life meant doing everything she couldn't before. But she went down the wrong path. For those of you who've read my story from the beginning, I want to leave you with a reflection. Promiscuity is never a safe path. It's not just about the pleasure of the moment, but the consequences that can follow. Herpes and HPV are just the tip of the iceberg. There are worse diseases out there, some incurable, others that can ruin your life forever. And beyond the physical, there are the emotional scars. No one teaches you how to deal with guilt, shame, or the feeling of having lost something valuable due to impulsive decisions. I'm not saying don't live your life, but do it responsibly. Freedom isn't about doing whatever you want without thinking of the consequences. It's about choosing what will truly benefit you in the long run. I'm moving forward with my life. This experience taught me a lot, but above all, it showed me that some paths simply aren't worth taking. I hope she learns that too, even if it's too late to go back.